In this video, we will be updating the minimap system we created in the last video and make it dynamic. So there's no limit to how many players there can be on the minimap and how many other indicators there can be. So you can add as many as you want and it will dynamically scale. As always, the project files are available for Patreons and channel members. So if you want to support me, please check out the different tiers there are. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to avoid using a render target, but I did some tests and the impact is actually quite low. It's still way better than using a scene capture component though. Let's get started by going to the level blueprint, and in here we had this logic to update the positions, and we can delete all stuff related to the material parameters. So let's just delete all of this. And what we will do here is we will save this as all players, and I know we are still calling this on event tick. You don't want to do this. There are much better ways to obtain all players, okay? So don't call this on event tick in your final project, just update this. I won't do it to keep the tutorial short. But we don't want to actually update this variable every tick. So instead, we will get the length of this array we just created. We will also get the length of this actor. Let's move this aside. And let's compare this, okay? We will check if these are not equal, then we want to update our array variable. And before we can continue here, we actually need to create a new material. We have the minimap as our base layer, and we will create another material, and we will call this material underscore player indicator. And instead of using the material function here in the minimap, so all this stuff, we can just copy this, delete all this, and paste this into the new material we just created. Also, make this material user interface, so we can display it on a widget. And this will essentially be one player, and we will render this on top of the minimap material. And in order to do this, we need to create a render target, okay? So you want to search for a render target and create a render target. And let's name this all render target underscore all rendered players, for example. And let's go in this. And what you want to do here is you want to scale this the same size as the minimap. So in our widget we created in the past tutorial, we took a size of 512 and 512. You could also make this a smaller size to save some performance, but I don't care, so I will just do it the exact same size. You can, however, see what looks good with a smaller size to save some performance here. The render target is perfectly set up, so let's close this. And with this new render target, we can go into our minimap material, so the base layer essentially, and drag and drop this render target right into here. And this will be very simple. We just add what we have here on top of the minimap, just like this. So let's apply and save this minimap, and we can even close this now because this is fully finished. Back in the player indicator material, we can actually delete all these and one of these. And now we only have the player color left, the size and the texture, and I won't change these. You can change these, however, based on which team someone is. Or actually, let me also show you how to do this. So first of all, you want to create a parameter, vector parameter, and you want to call this location. Then you have the rotation, so scalar parameter, and you want to call this rotation. I will keep the scale for each player the same. I want to keep the icon the same, but I will show you on this example how to change the color for different players. So this is a vector 3, so let's search for parameter, and let's also select a vector parameter, and let's call this color. And let's oh, I did something wrong because I deleted the wrong thing. So let's connect this up to player color, and for underlying pixels, press 1 on your keyboard and left click and just connect this. So we have nothing as a base layer, okay? And what you want to do here in order to render multiple players, you want to set this to be translucent. And let's just connect this up. So now we have a cutout of the player. So now we are back in our level blueprint. And in here, let's create a dynamic material instance. And let's promote this to a variable. Let's call this all indicators. And let's do this and make this to an array. These will be all player indicators. So let's remove all this. We now have the array. Drag and drop this out here. Press add. You can, by the way, press Ctrl and drop to have this, and press Alt and drop to have this set instantly. Just a small tip. So let's just connect this up, and let's select our indicator we just created. Material player indicator, compile and save. In here we want to, this is not an optimal way, I know, but I will just clear this. And we want to, for each loop, all players, like this. And this is really not an optimal way to create dynamic material instances and then just forget them, essentially, because this way I will just create for each player new indicators instead of using the old ones. So you should be optimizing this. I won't show you everything in my videos though, because you should be also putting some effort into your project and not just following tutorials. Let's continue. This is one part of the event tick. So let me create a new sequence. Let me move this down here. We still need these. Let's move them aside. And the first thing you want to do is you want to have a clear canvas to paint on. Clear render target 2D. Let's put this to 0 so it is really clear. And let's get our texture render target we have called it all rendered players, so let's just get this here. Then for all players, let's for each loop, and let's get the indicators, the indicator for the player 2, but let's check if this is valid, because this might be invalid. So a simple valid check, and in here it's just simple dynamic material stuff. So let's get this, let's get the dynamic material, no, my bad, let's set, oh my god, let's set the scalar parameter value, and let's also set the vector parameter value, and let's copy this twice because we also want to set the color. Let's call this one, we called it rotation previously, let's call this one location, and the last thing we called color. Ah, nice, okay, color. Let's, for here, let's get a random array element for the color. Let's make this a few colors, and you can set this based on which team of players in, for example, and you can retrieve variables by the player array, because this contains all the first person characters we have. So let's connect all these up, and here the target pin is missing, so connect this up. And now let's just copy our logic from here, get the actor rotation, set the rotation, and get our function we created in the last video. I will also show it in this one if you're following this like this. And let's test this out. And this is showing nothing. This is not good. Obviously, I forgot to also update the render target. So let's get all of these. And yeah, I know this is not optimal, but that's your task. Okay, to make this optimized. So let's just draw the material to render target. Let's get the render target we created, our render players, and now it should work. So we have one player, and okay, let's remove the color logic because we're updating this every frame, and that doesn't make sense for the color. Now nothing shows, and that's not good. And this is obviously because we now have no color here. So let's make this a yellow color. Let's see how this looks. Okay, we now have one player. Let's try it with 2. And let's check, and it dynamically works. Let's test it with 4. And it works. And one spawned on another map. That's not good. And let's test this one. Perfect. This works. One player tweaked. Let's try this again. Now all spawned, and we are all perfectly on the minimap, and it updates for each player perfectly fine. That's it. If you wish for another tutorial or another expansion on these minimap tutorials, then let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe and like this video, and have a nice day. Goodbye.